also back with Gwinnett Lawns in beautiful. Oh, that sky cannot get no bluer. Atlanta, Georgia. Today is August the 25th, 2024. Excuse me for wearing my sunglasses, but it is so bright out here. There's a nice light breeze. It's probably about 82 degrees. This is the weirdest weather I've ever seen in August. Next week it's going to be back in the mid 90s. It'll be up to 98, which is what it's supposed to be during August in Atlanta. Anyway, I want to talk to you guys real quick about how to price your lawn care, especially if you're a beginner. This video is going to be more for beginners, but maybe you seasoned guys can pick some tips and tricks. Or let's say that you're moving your company into a completely different market. Like if I was moving from here and I was going to go to Mississippi or something, right? So I'm going to tell you, here's what you do to start out, to find out how much to a baseline to where to charge for yards. So let's say that you're just new to the business. If you live in a house, this is what I would do. I would call and get at least 10 estimates on my own yard. If you don't live in a house, you've got a apartment or you've got a condo or townhouse or something, then I'm sure you know somebody that owns a house that you can do this. But I want you to go and get 10 estimates. Now you may have to call 30 landscapers to get 10 to actually come out and give you an estimate on your yard. Then you're going to average all those together and you're going to come up with a number. This is going to be your starting number, right? So you're going to adjust this as you go throughout the season. But let's just say for instance it came out and you're doing weekly yards and it came out to $40. Okay, that's the average of what it would be. So obviously if you have a bigger or smaller yard that you're going to be doing besides the one they gave you the estimate on, you're going to charge accordingly. If you've got extra edging, like say it's on a corner or there's a lot of fencing around, you know, you're going to have to charge for that. Now how much to charge for that? Like a corner lot, I'm going to charge $10 extra usually, unless the yard's really small. But because everybody around here has sidewalks, so you got the curb part, then you have both sides of the sidewalk. So that's 3 different passes that you have to do. So that's going to get you in the ballpark. So let's say that you're saying, all right, I'm going to start doing my estimates at $40, give or take, if the yard's bigger or smaller. And maybe that you want that just to be your minimum. That's fine too. So as you're starting to churn out estimates, I want you to keep track of how many estimates that you actually close, right? So if you put 10 estimates out and you're getting 9 or 10 people that per 10, if you're getting 9 or 10 successes and closing that, you're too cheap. You don't want that 90 or 100% closing rate. Now, if when you're first starting and you don't have any yards at all, you're just going to start filling up your schedule, right? So when you get to the point, and you have to figure this out, when you get to the point where you're 2 or 3 yards away from being completely full, I want you to raise your price another $10, right? So if it's, or $5 to $10, depending on your market. If you're doing it weekly, you may want to go up $5. If you're doing it bi-weekly, $10. But so that means that all the new estimates that are going to go out for the last 2 or 3 slots that you have, you're going to price them $5 or $10 higher. You're going to keep track of that rate, and as estimates keep coming, requests for estimates keep coming in, you're going to keep track of that. And when your closing ratio gets to about 50%, which is where I like to be, then you know that you're priced right. If you're still closing 100, 90, 80, 70%, then raise your price again. That means you're too cheap. If you get to the point where you're only closing like 30 or 40%, then you're a little too expensive and you need to adjust your price back down. What this is going to do is it's going to price you towards the upper 20 to 25% of the market, which is where you want to be. You don't want to be the Walmart of lawn care. And I'm going to tell you why. Because these guys, for instance, here in this area, my minimum is $89. I have guys coming around that will do a yard for $50. Well, 90% of the time, they're going to fill their schedule up so fast they can't take any more customers. And I see guys going out of business all the time after a couple of years because they're not making any money. It doesn't matter how many estimates you close. It doesn't matter how many clients you have. If you're not making enough money and charging the appropriate amount of money to do the yard, you're going to go out of business. I mean, nobody can operate at a break even or a loss for very long. We're not in that to break even. You want to make a good money, a good salary, a good profit for your work, right? So, I mean, there's going to always be people that are, they're doing it as a side hustle, or maybe they were making 15, 20 bucks an hour at whatever job, and they're doing some yards and they're getting $50 and they can do the yard in an hour. Well, their thinking is, wow, I'm making 2.5 times what I made at my job, but they don't understand you have taxes, insurance, mower expenses, mower repair, maintenance, fuel, all that stuff adds up, and they end up finding out very quickly, and I'm saying very quickly, after a season or two, they're like, I'm not making enough money. Now, the other thing that you can do, and this is what I do all the time, is when I'm in a neighborhood doing a yard and I see another landscaper, not if they're in the middle of cutting, but if they're like standing at their trailer or truck, I'll stop by and just chat it up with them a little bit and say, hey, how much you doing the yard for? And almost all the time, well, I don't think I've ever found anybody that was near my price. Almost all the time, they're like, oh yeah, I do it for, $60. And, I'm trying to help them. I'm like, look, man, I'm like, how long have you been doing this and trying to get a feel for it? I said, this yard right here is clearly an $89 yard. They're, why you can't charge? I'm like, dude, I have tons and tons of clients like that. So I try to help them out as best as I can, because if you're still charging, 40% less than I am, you're in prices that were 15 years ago. We need to get to where we have a good worth in what we're doing. So get a bunch of estimates on lawns, get a bunch of, talk to as many people as you can, and keep your percentage of close for the estimates that you send out in the business that you get back in. That will tell you very quickly if you're priced right? Because pricing is the hardest thing in the world to get right. I thought I was the king. I was doing these yards for $49. And I didn't know. I didn't know any better, because it's kind of a new market, this area, and I had 100% close rate. My schedule filled up so fast, and it took me a little while because I was nervous. I was like, can I do that? Am I able to raise prices? Will people? So I raised prices. The next year I'm to $59. Had 0 customers leave. And then I was doing the estimates at $59. Then when I had a couple openings, I started doing them at $69 and 0 customers left. So I raised everybody up. So I have now raised it to, I have some lawns that are like $125, but they're bigger, but normally $89. I have even started doing my minimum at $99, because my close ratio at 89 was starting to creep up too high. Because I have had a lot of customers move the last 2 years, so I'm like, I'm just going to try it, and I'll put out 10 estimates at $99, and I'll get 40% back, and I'm okay with that, right? I'm okay with putting some of those $99 yards in there, and I have some that I'm going to have to raise some prices on, but that is the fastest and best way for your market, because I can't tell you how much to charge in your market. I wish I could, but I can't. But this way, if you do that, even if you're a seasoned landscaper, go through, take the bottom 10% of your customers and raise the price on them. Yeah, I mean, you've got to do this. There's gonna be a lot of guys go out of business if inflation keeps going up, and it's just the way it is, man. Mowers are like 50% more than they used to be. Fuel's bouncing around. Everything's more expensive. So, but if you're seasoned, do that. Bottom 10%, raise the price. You may have none leave, you may have 1 or 2 leave, but that's okay because that opens up a slot. And then every time you get an estimate for lawn care, what you normally would put in there is going to be at your new rate, and you just keep leapfrogging up until you figure out where your price point is. And this will put you, what you want to do is you want to be in the top 10 or 20% of your market, and that'll allow you to make a really good profit, and it'll allow you to put a good hourly rate for mowing back in your pocket. That's what you want. So I hope this helps. This is what I've been doing consistently for the last 5 years, and it has worked wonderfully. And I'm gonna do maybe another video for guys that have been in business for a while, because that's gonna be the hardest, because you're afraid you're gonna lose customers, and you may lose a couple, but if you raise prices 25%, you may have 10% of your customers leave, but you're also gonna greatly increase your profit margin. So you'll be doing less work and making more total money. But if you guys want me to do a video more in depth for guys that are already seasoned, that maybe have a full schedule, I can do that for you. But if you see some other guys out there and it's working for you, help them. I mean, look, man, there's so much work out here. It's absolutely incredible. I turn down probably 10 or 12 estimates a week just because I'm shrinking my area back, because I don't want to drive as much, and I'm probably going to be solo next year, so I'm not going to have as many slots, so I'm shrinking it back, and then, you know, I'm continuing to keep the estimates higher because I know that I'm going to have to cut. When I cut, I'm going to cut the bottom probably 20% of my customers out that are not necessarily the ones that are paying the least, but the ones that the hourly rate, my man-hour rate, is the lowest on, because those are the least profitable. But anyway, I hope this helps, and if you have some comments, if you have a technique that we could all profit or benefit from, put that down in the comments, and I will talk to you guys on the next video.